You didn't buy the sunrise. You bought this. The light switching from red to green on time. The bus that arrives close enough to on schedule that you stop checking. The water that doesn't need a filter. The card tap that moves money through 6 institutions and 3 continents in 2 seconds without you saying a prayer. What you're really buying with your taxes isn't a list of programs, though those matter. You're buying predictability, stability, the invisible stage on which your plans can exist without feeling like a dare. People think of taxes as subtraction. The number on your paycheck shrinks, your bank balance dips in April, you mutter something primal. But try flipping the camera. Ask, what did this payment convert into that I actually use? Not someday. Today. Taxes are the operating budget for the most valuable product in the world. A place where tomorrow looks enough like today that you can sign a lease, plant a season, fund a payroll, raise a child, take a risk, and sleep. Start with electricity. You don't notice a grid until it fails. Your ability to earn, to learn, to care for someone at 3 a.m., to preserve food, to connect, all of it assumes a grid that works and a crew that shows up in freezing rain with a truck and a plan. That's taxes. Directly or through the web of regulation, standards, mutual aid agreements, and public investment you didn't have to build alone. Predictability is the best productivity tool you own. Shift to water. Civilization is not Wi-Fi, it's plumbing. A water system that delivers safe pressure and safe chemistry is the quietest dividend you receive. It multiplies your hours because you don't boil, test, haul, or heal as often. It multiplies your lifespan because outbreaks don't start in your sink. You're not buying liquid. You're buying confidence. That confidence has a price, but compare it to the cost of a city without it. Bottles, filters, lost work, hospital bills, and the fee becomes a bargain. Now the part we pretend is abstract. Money itself. A currency is a promise about tomorrow. It says, the number on this screen will still mean something next week. Taxes and the system they fund are part of why that promise holds. Courts that enforce contracts. Regulators who keep banks honest enough. Central banks that aren't political pawns. Statistical agencies you can mostly trust. The state's credibility is the collateral behind your savings. Without it, you don't get capitalism. You get bartering with a side of panic. Look at law. Your contract is just a PDF until a court makes it real. Your house is a story you tell your friends until a land registry's data and a sheriff's willingness to show up say, yes, this is yours. Every title, lien, merger, will, custody arrangement, and security interest relies on a staffed courtroom and a funded clerk's office. This isn't romance. It's the reason mortgage rates drop when legal systems are strong. Lenders price certainty, and certainty is not free. Then there's the immune system you never meet. Public health is boring until it isn't. And when it isn't, you want boring back. Labs, surveillance, stockpiles, cross-border cooperation, vaccine logistics, inspectors who don't flinch. That's taxes converting into time. Time bought for hospitals to prepare, for data to get good, for supply chains to adapt. When you say, I lost 2 years, you're really saying, the maintenance of predictability failed and we paid for it with chaos. Stability compounds like interest. The longer a society can promise rules won't whiplash, the lower every risk premium becomes. Businesses accept thinner margins, investors accept lower yields, households take on mortgages at rates that don't make them flinch. Those tiny percentages are your retirement, your rent, your valuation. When you buy stability, you are buying cheaper time for everything else you value. You feel this in traffic without knowing the math. A city that stripes lanes, times lights, enforces basics, and fixes potholes, reduces collisions, shaves minutes off deliveries, lowers repair bills, cuts insurance premiums, and makes neighborhoods livable enough to attract talent. No ribbon cutting, just compound returns from boring competence. Your taxes are not going to paint. They're buying a commute you can predict within 10 minutes. The same logic runs through schools. Education is both a private ladder and a public guardrail. When basic literacy, numeracy, and civic norms reach nearly everyone, fraud drops, productivity rises, and democratic arguments can happen in words instead of fists. You don't have to have a kid to benefit. The barista, nurse, contractor, developer, and cop you meet today run on the power of someone else's school budget 20 years ago. You're paying back and forward for a society with fewer dangerous surprises. Defense and diplomacy are the loudest example of buying nothing happens. The absence of invasion is not luck. It's deterrence, alliances, intelligence, coast guards, cyber units, and the quiet, tedious work of preventing misunderstandings from becoming wars. If that sounds remote, translate it into freight. Insurance on ships falls when seas are safe. Chips arrive on time when straits are calm. Your phone's price includes the premium the world charges for risk. Taxes that lower global risk lower prices you don't even realize, include a hazard fee. Now zoom down to the person level. Predictability is what lets small businesses be brave. If you run a cafe, the stability you purchase lets you sign a 5-year lease without wondering if police protection, trash pickup, and sidewalk rules will vanish. If you run an online shop, it's why carriers still deliver and payment networks still pay. Your growth strategy sits on a table labeled boringly reliable. The legs of that table are tax-funded institutions. Kick them out and your plans don't just wobble, they splinter. You're not only buying services, you're buying standards. Building codes that make earthquakes survivable. Food safety rules that make outbreaks rare. Electrical codes that mean an outlet is an outlet, not roulette. Standards are the reason a charger bought in one shop doesn't burn down a different shop. You're buying the promise that a product labeled a thing is that thing. That promise is the oxygen of commerce. But what about waste? The most honest question in the room. Every system leaks. There are bad contracts, bloated line items, programs past their sell-by dates. You should demand audits, sunset clauses, clear metrics, and digital paper trails a citizen can read. Accountability is how you increase the return on your stability purchase. But don't confuse friction with futility. $1 of fraud is infuriating. $1 of prevention is invisible. The trick is to see the invisible and still punish the infuriating. But what about freedom? Another honest question. Freedom isn't the absence of rules. It's the presence of reliable ones. A world with no taxes is not a frontier. It's a casino where the house is whoever has muscle today. Ask anyone who fled a failed state what they missed most. It wasn't low taxes. It was the ability to plan a week ahead without calling 3 cousins and a fixer. Here's where this becomes practical, not philosophical. If predictability is what you buy, you can audit the receipt. Read a budget the way you'd read a corporate 10K. What's the core promise? What percentage pays for maintenance versus shiny things? Are rainy day funds real or theater? Are performance dashboards public? Which line items reduce surprise, not just noise? When you vote, you're not picking a saint or a villain. You're hiring a maintenance crew. As a business owner or household CFO, you can align your own decisions to the product you're buying. Invest in the stability multipliers, compliance that prevents panic letters, documentation that shortens audits from months to days, insurance that keeps a setback from becoming a story you tell for the rest of your life. Use the silent partner features you've already paid for, research credits, accelerated write-offs, training subsidies, disaster assistance. If you leave those on the table, you're overpaying for stability and underusing it. Think about geography as a portfolio too. If you live or operate where predictability is especially strong, the premium you pay in taxes may be buying a discount on everything else. Borrowing costs, shipping reliability, crime risk, litigation roulette. If you move to a low-tax jurisdiction that skimps on the basics, calculate the hidden bill. Private security, bottled water, generator fuel, corruption tolls, a lawsuit you'll never win because the docket is a suggestion. The sticker price of tax can be lower, while the all-in cost of living and operating is higher. Stability arbitrage is real, and it cuts both ways. There's a deeper psychological dividend. Predictability buys you attention. Every hour you don't spend worrying about whether the bridge is open is an hour you can spend doing work that compounds. Craft, strategy, kindness, sleep. Anxiety is a tax too. You pay it when systems are unreliable. When you fund reliability, you're buying back brain space. That space is worth more than cash. It's where your best ideas happen. What about innovation? Doesn't predictability make us complacent? Only if we confuse stable rules with stagnant outcomes. The best systems lock down the floor so you can jump higher. They make failure survivable so more people try. They standardize the boring so ingenuity can focus on the non-boring. You don't need to reinvent property law to invent a vaccine. You need a predictable platform on which boldness won't be punished by randomness. If you want a grim proof, look at places where stability flickers. Investors flee first, then doctors, then teachers, then teenagers with passports. Savings evaporate into hard goods. Daily life shifts from plans to moves. The tax base erodes, services weaken, predictability collapses. Climbing back takes a decade and more money than anyone wanted to spend. Paying to keep the lights on is the cheapest path humanity has ever found. So how do you become a smarter buyer of stability? Start by separating price from value. The number on a tax bill is the price. The value is the discount on everything else. Make a little ledger for your life. List the parts of your world that function because someone predictable shows up. Utilities, transit, courts, registries, emergency services, schools, public health, permits, standards. Ask which ones you actually use now, which ones you'll need when life tilts, and which ones you want intact for your kids. Then ask if the price you pay is buying those outcomes with any degree of efficiency. If yes, press leaders to keep squeezing waste. If no, press them to copy the places that do it better. Hold on to one more idea. Stability is the most inclusive benefit taxes can buy. You may never call the fire department. You still want someone else's fire not to leap your fence. You may never sue or be sued. You still want contracts enforceable so your employer can get paid and pay you. You may never have kids. You still want everyone else's kids taught well enough not to crash into your life at speed. Predictability is the societal floor that raises everyone's ceiling.